Hello, everyone, and welcome aboard yet again. So today we are going to officially start what is going to be my long-standing game play, whatever. So I had been polling my viewers and everything about what they would like to see and everything, and I got a few different IDs, and I decided to settle on. Actually, I'm gonna mix two of them. I'm going to make that challenge pretty challenging. So one of the suggestions was that I should do the LA Kings challenge, historical challenge, because it looks kind of fun. I agree. I mean, something happened in that summer, right before the 88-89 season. The Kings acquired that really great player, Marty McSorley, along with some guy named Wayne Gretzky. So the challenge is basically I have 10 years to win the Stanley Cup. So kind of similar to what I did last year with the Tampa Bay Lightning, except with the Tampa Bay Lightning, I was starting with a pretty bad team. I was starting with the Tampa Bay Lightning right out of the gate after the expansion draft. So they had, pretty much Brian Bradley and the others. So this time out, I have 10 years to win the cup using the LA Kings. But they have a little bit of a better roster than Tampa Bay did, all things considered, of course. So here comes the second thing that was recommended to me. Or a challenge that was given to me. I'm sorry, let me check something here. I apologize. All right, so I wanted to get the person right. So it's Stoner Matt that suggested that I try. He said either the New Jersey or the Devils or the Kings one. So I elected the Kings, or I went for the Kings. I didn't elect the Kings. I went for the Kings. So that's gonna be the team I'm gonna be using. Now, the other suggestion, as far as a challenge goes, came during one of my Brigandine streams, where it was suggested by FJ, that guy, that I should go ahead and try to do a challenge where I can only use players whose last names start with A, R, or G, which are the initials of my channel. Now, I will do that, but with this particular caveat, I'm also going to look at first names. I'm afraid that there's just not going to be enough players at certain positions to be able to fill a full roster. So so the challenge is going to be I have 10 years to win the Kings, and I'm adding the extra challenge that I can only use players whose first or last initial starts with A, R, or G, which means I can keep Gretzky, right? So at least that there's that. I don't have to trade him. So I don't know where this is going to take me, but I will say this: there's a chance I'm not going to be able to complete the challenge this year. It's going to be really challenging. Now, obviously, taking the Kings into 1988, I have players with all kinds of initials, so that part is not gonna be like valid at the start. I'm not going to go and try to figure out 78 trades to try to conform to that. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is that anybody that I trade for, any waiver pickup, any free agent signing, anybody that I draft, any roster addition going on from today need to have A, R, or G as one of their first or last initials. So there's going to be some good players available. I'm thinking about like maybe try to get a guy like Glenn Anderson, for example. So he should be a pretty good player. A guy like Tony Amonte should be a decent player as well, and you should be pretty young at this stage, so maybe I'm going to be able to get him on the cheap and develop him and things like that. So those are the things that I'm going to be looking for. That also means those of you who are familiar with that era of the NHL, if you have some players that you want to suggest to me, feel free to do so. We're going to definitely look into that. So yeah, I am challenging myself within the challenge for added challenge. Yeah. So hopefully we can do something with that. And hopefully I can beat it. Now, of course, I get to keep Gretzky, so that's going to be a really good piece, but it's going to be up to me to keep him. Now, one other thing that I notice is that I at least get to keep, Glenn Ely and Rolly Melanson for a goaltending tandem. So that's maybe not the best goaltending tandem, but they fit that criteria and they should be at least capable, I would think. And Ely is still kind of young at 25, so yeah. So the Kings have some ridiculously good pieces, and then some not so much. So it's gonna be a little bit of a uphill battle here. And of course, if FJ ever joins in or watches this, I have Mike Krushelinski just for him here. I don't get to keep him very long because he doesn't have the right initials. But hey, we do start with Mike Krushelinski, so that's saying something. All right, so yeah, usually there's a few things that I do offline before I start recording, but that's the first year I'm doing this as a live stream. So there's no pause button where I can just do like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna do this offline real quick and I'm gonna come back. Um, so I did create the league prior to coming live. And another thing that I want to add, and it might be disappointing to some. I'm sorry. I'm starting as GM only. Um, on paper, I really like the idea of being the coach as well, but the way that the game is built, being the coach as well can be really daunting because of all of the day-to-day injuries that occur where you have to swap a guy out for 1 or 2 games and change all the tactics and everything, and it can really get tedious after a while. So since I'm adding a part to the challenge already, I think I'm just gonna do GM at least for now. I might change that in the future, but for now we're gonna do GM only. And I was kind of looking forward to play with the financial system, but everything is grayed out. I think it has to do with, I need to be either at the start of the month or at the start of the year. So for the first season, I'm putting it on auto. Like the assistant's gonna take care of that, and then when we reach around July 1st, I'm gonna turn it on so that I can see if I can allocate my points wherever I want, because right now I cannot, and that's kind of a bummer because I was really looking forward to that. That's like the one thing I was really looking forward to, but right now it's all grayed out. It's like you ain't doing shit with your money, man. So yeah. All right, so that kind of puts things into perspective. We are August 21st, 1988. A bomb happened in hockey as the LA Kings obtained Wayne Gretzky in a trade with the Edmonton Oilers. All right. So, with no further ado here, let's go ahead and start simming. I've set my settings already so that it only sims 1 day at a time. That's something that out of the, well, quote unquote box, I hope that it was the case that you don't have to go and mess up with. But anyway. Alright, so as usual, I will read all the news, so that's how I play. I read everything. I've actually got some good comments about that. Now, in other video series that I do, apparently, some people don't like the fact that I read everything, even though my YouTube bio says that I read everything. But anyway, all right, so nothing happened on the first day that we sim. So in 31 days, we have the first preseason game, which is going to be in New York against the Rangers. And of course, in 1988, it's not West and East. It's the Campbell Conference, and it should be what the Wales Conference. Yeah, Wales and Campbell conferences. So that's the thing, right? I had to check. In French, the Wales Conference was called Prince de Galles, so that's very different. So I had to double check to make sure. But yeah, so we're in the Smite division with Edmonton, Winnipeg, Calgary, and Vancouver. We're the only American team there. Everybody else is a Canadian team. And I think we have a good shot to make the playoffs, unless I start to be stupid or something. All right. Mel Bridgman attends a leadership seminar that he really needs before he goes and drafts the Sands in 3 years and completely fuck them up for years by not doing a very good job of it. Hey, some say it's impossible to teach an old dog new tricks, but try again. But try saying that to 33-year-old Mel Bridgman. Bridgman attended a Vancouver leadership conference last Sunday, hoping to hone his skills in that area. All right, so that's a news that's been in all of the franchise hockey manager games so far, so nothing too crazy there. So Mel Bridgman, 33 years old, is now a better leader because he attended a seminar. He took good notes. All right. Okay, I think everybody is on my roster, so I don't have to recall anybody for that particular. Sorry, for that for the preseason. Not gonna be the case after the first season, sadly. All right. So I'm simming days. Not a whole lot happening right now. It is the off season. Oh, trade speculation surrounds Gainey. Now, Bob Gainey is somebody that I could go and get because his last name starts with G, right? So Bob Gainey, how old is he? Yeah, he's old. Well, old. I mean, he's 34. That's still, 9 years younger than me, but he's old in hockey terms. Two-star player, so I don't know that I'm gonna trade for him per se, but that's a player that I could target. So apparently there's trade rumors, and that kind of news is new in the game this year. It was reported today that the Montreal Canadiens are attempting to move Bob Gainey. Team officials offered no comment on the rumor, but talks were apparently underway, with at least 3 potential destinations for Gainey. Washington, Boston, and Calgary are all believed to be interested in the left wing, but the details of what they might be offering are vague. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and sim some more. There might be some trades before the start of the season that could reshape the expectations for certain teams. That's why I love playing historical so much. Now, if you've watched my franchise hockey manager 6 and 7 series, you already know that about me, so you're probably tired of hearing me say it. But yeah, I just love the what could have beens of playing historical. Alright, August is almost over. Very few things. Saying August scouting update from Nick Beverly. Okay, so they're talking about the best free agents that are available. Okay, so we have some weaknesses. Well, we're weak pretty much everywhere. Oh wow, apparently we're weak at center with Bernie Nichols and Wayne Gretzky. Apparently that's a weakness of ours. Kind of interesting. And that's something that I might check. Is maybe I could look for a defenseman that fits my that fits my my very restrictive challenge that I'm imposing on myself. So I guess I could go and check. Usually I like to go from here for some reason. Alright, let's take a look at these because my D is not all that great. That's definitely what I have identified as a weakness for me. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the defensemen that are free agents. Oh boy, there's not a whole lot. Not a whole lot available. I guess that we're gonna keep D as a potential weakness for now. Or did I screw up the filter here? I don't think so. So Sean Hill, the ever undying Sean Hill that always seems to end up on my teams for short bursts of time. But he's 18 and he's an alpha, so I think we're gonna need to fix the D through a trade or something. Or maybe we'll get ridiculously lucky through the waivers draft or something. I don't know. Alright, so the calendar flips to September. Oh, alright, the top selling Los Angeles Kings jerseys for August, so that's a financial thing, so they're telling me whose name sells the most on jerseys. And Wayne Gretzky comes first. Shouldn't be a surprise, we just acquired Wayne Gretzky. Bernie Nichols, Dave Taylor, Luc Robitaille, and John Tonelli. Alright, so all of those are the top 5 selling jerseys. And in the NHL, the top-selling jerseys: Patrick Roy, Mark Messier, Lanny McDonald, Grant Fuhr, Wayne Gretzky, Ray Bourque, Glenn Anderson, Brian Hayward, Matt Naslund, Cam Neely, and then it just goes down. Really? Brian Hayward sold a lot of jerseys. Okay. Sure. Ooh. So Shell Dahlin signs 86,500 with the Vancouver Canucks. The club announced the Vancouver Canucks are hoping to see a lot of Shell Dahlin in the coming years. The club announced today that it has signed a deal with young free agent right wing Dahlin. The club did not formally announce the terms of the contract, but it is believed to be a 1-year deal worth 86,500. Wow, the salaries were a lot lower back then, right? Vancouver Canucks have shown a lot of faith in me, and I am hoping to be able to step up for them, Dahlin said. Alright, so moving on in September. Montreal wants to move Ryan Walter. Multiple reports today suggest that Montreal Canadiens are aggressively shopping Ryan Walter, and potential destinations are Boston, Washington, and Buffalo. So I guess we'll get to see if the curse of the Washington Capitals continues in this sim. So in my previous two iteration of the game series, the Washington Capitals were crap both times for several years. So hopefully they can shake that off here this year and be a little bit more competitive. Right, not a whole lot happening here as we move through the days. Oh, there's been a trade here. So there's been a trade between the Jets and the Capitals. So Dave Hunter and Matt Hervey are going to Washington for Mikhail Pivanka and Rob Murray. So Pivanka was a decent player. He's 22 right now, so he still have some potential to reach. Of course, Dave Hunter is more of a defensive forward. He's 30, so he's done developing. So they get veteran presence in there. Lanny McDonald hosts a charity golf tournament. I'm not going to read all of that, but basically he's hosting a golf tournament to raise some money that makes him a good person. And Chicago is looking to move Rick Vive. And Quebec, Montreal, and St. Louis have shown interest for him. Right, so we are September 11th, so 11 more days before we get to our first preseason game at Madison Square Garden. Not a whole lot going on. Oh, Thomas Janssen and Mick Vukota of the Islanders pitch in at a local homeless shelter. So they are known as being better people. Right, 6 days before the start of preseason. Winnipeg is listening to offers for Gilamel. Gilamel is 28. Apparently we are having interested in him. Well, we could. One of his initials is G, so I suppose we could look into Gilamel. But yeah. So Washington, Calgary, and us apparently are looking at Gilamel with a lot of interest. Just we're having our first preseason game here in just a couple days. It is exciting. I have never played franchise hockey manager and own Wayne Gretzky on my team. This is going to be a first for me. I have to set my captains. Oh, come on. Who should be the captain? I wonder. Alright, and... Oh, Ken Baumgartner showed up out of shape. I'm going to criticize him internally. This is no time to be out of shape, Ken. Alright. Going to... Yeah, Gretzky's going to be my captain. I think Dave Taylor should be an assistant or alternate captain. Sometimes I like to have one on D as well. I don't really have a very great D to give it to, though. I mean, I have Marty McSorley, Doug Crossman. Ugh. I don't know that he's... Alright, so let's game this then. We're gonna go ahead and look at the mental ratings, and we're gonna look at leadership. Oh, Dean Kennedy has a lot of leadership. There you go. You are alternate number 2. Okay, all right. So Wayne Gretzky's our captain. Dave Taylor is one of our alternate captains, and the other one is going to be Dean Kennedy, who is a defenseman, so that's fine. All right, so it is now time for preseason. Keep in mind, I am using a coach, so I am not setting my lines. I am not setting my tactics. None of that. Sorry, folks. That's just not something I want to do right now. It takes too long, especially if I'm streaming. All right, let's play the game against the Rangers at New York. In New York, not at New York. All right, so it looks like we're playing a lot of okay, we're playing a lot of players that are probably not gonna make the team, which is okay. I like that about preseason, and I like that they do that with our team. Let's see if they do that with the other teams as well. I know that in Franchise Hockey Manager 7, the other team in preseason was always playing its best roster. So I hope that's not the case anymore. Alright, so we have Glenn Ely in net. They are going to go with Bob Fraze. Alright, and I'm going to be simming games for now. I might do a 2D game later. Alright, so let's see if we can win this. And we won. It is a 4-3 victory for the Kings in preseason over the Rangers. So now let's go ahead and take a look at this here. All right, so we outshot the Rangers 41-32. Steve Duchesne was the first star of the game. He had a goal. Thomas Sandstrom was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Gord Walker, I thought it was Jeff for some reason. I thought it was Jeff with a G. Gord Walker, third star with a goal. 17,000 people in attendance in New York. So we took a 2-0 lead into the first period. Steve Duchesne scored the first preseason goal of this new yearly series, assisted by Paul Gay and Bob Carpenter. Then Gord Walker scored, made it 2-0. There was a fight between James Patrick and Tom Laidlaw. Then another fight between Michel Petit and Dale DeGray. So 2 fights in the first period. Alright, so it was 2-0 Kings after 1. Then into the second period, Wayne Gretzky scored from John Tonnelly and Jim Fox. Made it 3-0 LA over the Rangers. There was another fight. Michel Petit and Dale DeGray went at it yet again. And then in the third period, the Rangers scored. Then Bernie Nichols scored from Dave Taylor and Marty McSorley. Made it 4-1. Then the Rangers scored twice, including a goal at 20 minutes. They scored like right when the buzzer went off. Made it 4-3. Of course, it was too little too late. And we won 4-3. All right. Alright, so now we get to see the post-game analysis. So, Bernie Nichols went 9 for 10 in face-off, so that's really good. Alright, a bunch of people didn't stay in their roles, so that's kind of new for me to look at all of that, so I'm sorry about that. Busiest players, Steve Duchesne, John Tonnelly, and John English, but they don't say like how long they spent on the ice. I guess you have to go back to the box score. So that could be, if busiest players mean like ice time and everything, could be nice to put it in here. Heavy offensive zone usage, Luc Robitaille, Steve Duchesne, and Jim Fox. So again, putting some kind of metric here would be useful. And heavy defensive zone usage, John Tonnelly, Tom Laidlaw, and Marty McSorley. All right. There was no stopping Darren Veitch. Alright, so he had what? He had a hat trick. 3 goals. Sorry, buddy, it doesn't count, though. Right, and we turn around, and apparently, so right after the game in New York, we flew right back to LA to play the Oilers the next day. So now we are going to be playing Edmonton as a preseason game, and it's going to be the first game by Wayne Gretzky against his former team. It's only preseason too, so it doesn't count. All right, let's take a look at here. Oh yeah, we're going with some weird combinations here. Alright, so the Oilers are going to have Bill Ranford in net. We're going to go with Mark Fitzpatrick. I'm going to go ahead and sim. We lost 4-2 against the Oilers. We got outshot severely here, 71-25. So I was like, I don't know if the Oilers played their best lineup. Yeah, I think they did. Maybe not. No, it looks like close to their best lineup for sure. Anyway, so we lost 4-2, got severely outshot. We had 15,954 people in Inglewood for the game. Oilers took a 3-0 lead into the first period. Then into the second, we scored twice, so we came back into this game. John Miner scored on the power play from Wayne Gretzky. Then Ron Duguay scored from Dan Gratton and Tim Waters. 3-2 Edmonton after 2. Bunch of penalties into the second period. A bunch of fights again. Looks like there's more fights in this version of the game, at least so far. So Dean Kennedy fought Steve Smith. And then Tim Waters fought Mark Messier. Ooh. Oh, look at all those fights in the third period. Wow. So in the third, there was a goal by Edmonton. It was 4-2. That was the last goal of the game. But wow, look at all those fights. Ken Baumgartner fought Keith Acton. John Miner fought Esa Tikkanen. Frank Bro fought Ken Hammond. Jim Offord fought Steve Smith. Denis Larocque fought Kevin McLennan. Man, that's a lot of fights. Alright, post-game analysis. Great defensive effort. 98 defensive game rating for Craig Simpson. Oh, that's the Oilers. We don't care about that. Wayne Gretzky had a 99 defensive game rating. Okay. Yeah, we really got outshot badly, so, the bad shots for against differential is obviously going to be really bad. So, that was a bad game. We got shellacked. Injury to sideline. Penguins defenseman Paul Coffey. Oh, he's out for 2 weeks. Oh, that's not the end of the world. A rotator cuff strain. Night to remember for Rob Brown. Probably playing alongside Mario Lemieux, as he did in real life, and had that one great season. So he had 3 goals and an assist. Passes on point for Matt Naslund with the Habs. He had 4 assists against the Islanders. And what will Detroit do with Tim Higgins? Hartford, Pittsburgh, and Quebec are interested in Tim Higgins, apparently. Alright, we have a day off. Then we're going to be playing in Chicago against the Blackhawks. Alright. One thing I haven't done is look at the other team's roster. Usually I do that. So Gonna go ahead and take a look at the Blackhawks roster here. So Ed Belfour in net, he's 23, so he's just starting his career. Darren Pang and his entire 5'5" frame is the backup. Dave Manson, Nyland, Wilson, Trentiani, Mark Bergevin, Brown, Murray, Steve Thomas, Everett Sanipass, Vince Litt, Eagles, Hudson, Ludzik, Murray, Ronick, 18 years old, Denis Savard, Dirk Graham, Steve Larmer, Wayne Presley, Sutter, and Vive are playing for Chicago. Do they have any injuries? They do not. Alright, so looks like we're going to have maybe a little bit better of a lineup here. Let's see if we can beat the Blackhawks. We're going to have Glenn Ely in net for us. Ed Belfour is going to be in net for the Hawks. Ooh, we lost 8-3. Our D is not great, folks. So, yes, we can score, I think, but yeah, our D is just not very good. So, we're probably going to see some games like this. We were outshot 43-21 in that one. Bob Murray was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 3 assists. Denis Savard was the second star with 2 goals and an assist. And Troy Murray was the third star with 2 goals and an assist as well. So, yeah, the Blackhawks scored 6 unanswered goals in the first period. So, the game was pretty much over at that point. Bunch of fighting again. Dave Manson fought Marty McSorley. Everett Sanipass fought Bob Carpenter. Then in the second period, Wayne Gretzky put us on the board from Luc Robitaille and Larry Playfair. It was 6-1. Then Chicago scored twice. It was 8-1. Then Luc Robitaille scored unassisted, made it 8-2. Then Wayne Gretzky from Luc Robitaille and Dave Taylor made it 8-3 for the Blackhawks. And some more fighting in the third period. Everett Sanipass fought Craig Duncanson, and Wayne Presley fought Larry Playfair. So we didn't have any positive in that game. Oh, Jim Fox is hurt. I'm going to need to take a look at that. See what we do. That's what. There you go. They're both day-to-day injuries. So we have Paul Gay that's hurt as well, and then Jim Fox. But both injuries are day-to-day, so we're not gonna be too worried about that. Especially during preseason, there's plenty of other warm bodies to fit in jerseys, so we're not gonna worry about it. We're just gonna click on the continue button and head to Minnesota to play against the North Stars in preseason. Good game for Sylvain Turgeon playing for Hartford. He had a hat-trick against the Flyers. Mike Bullard has a great game. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Winnipeg Jets. And Marcel Dion has a great game as well. 2 goals and 5 assists. Yeah, that's kind of good. Against Toronto, Marcel Dion is 37, playing for the Rangers, still hoping to get that one elusive Stanley Cup despite being one of the top players in the league for all those years. Alright, at Minnesota to play against the North Stars. Let's take a look at their lineup here. Alright, so Don Beaupre and Carrie Taco in net. Taco, God, that's making me hungry. Sean Chambers, Kurt Giles, R.D. Artsberg, Musil, Mo Manta, Bob Rouse, Fraser, Stuart Gavin, Brian McLennan, De Palma, McRae, Brooke, Neil Broughton should still be pretty good. He's 28. Yeah, he's a 4.5 star player. Dave Gagne, Marek Ruskowski, Pashek, Mike Modano. He is 18 years old. Brian Bellows, still pretty good. He's 24. Bustad and Cicerelli. So they're kind of shaped like us. Good offense, probably okay goaltending, and the defense is kind of ugh. All right, in Minnesota, can we win this game? Glenn Ely in net for us. Kari Taco, the goaltender for the North Stars. Oh yeah, we won 9-4 this time. There you go. That's more like it. We outshot Minnesota 45-34. Wayne Gretzky was the first star of the game. He had a hat trick, 3 goals. John Tonelli was the second star with a goal and 3 assists. And Bob Kudelski was the third star with a goal and 2 assists. And that was pretty good. Right, so Doug Crossman opened up the scoring in the first from Bernie Nichols and John Tonelli. Then the North Stars scored twice. They were up 2-1. Then we scored 2 goals. Steve Duchesne scored unassisted. Then Bob Carpenter from Steve Duchesne and Gord Walker. And then Wayne Gretzky scored from Tom Laidlaw and John Tonelli. It was 4-2 for us. Then the North Stars scored another goal, 4-3 for the Kings after 1. Look at all those fights. I hope that during the regular season that's gonna dissipate a little bit because this is crazy. So Frank Musil and Dean Kennedy got into a fight in the first period. Then Mark Hardy with Marty McSorley, Bob Rouse with Ken Baumgartner, then Bob Rouse again with Dean Kennedy. Right. So that's all the fighting in the first period. Then Wayne Gretzky scored in the second period from Luc Robitaille. It was 5-3. Bob Kudelski from Bob Carpenter and John Tonelli made it 6-3. Wayne Gretzky scored his 6th goal of the preseason from Dean Kennedy and Luc Robitaille, made it 7-3. Then Minnesota scored. It was 7-4 after 2. And then some more fighting in the second period because why not face punch each other while we can? Craig Ardsberg fought Marty McSorley, Mark Hardy fought Dale DeGray, and Frank Musil fought Ken Baumgartner. And then in the third period, we added 2 more goals. Marty McSorley from Luc Robitaille and Bob Kudelski, and then John Tonelli from Bob Kudelski and Bernie Nichols. It was a 9-4 victory for the Kings. And at the surprise of absolutely everybody, including myself, there were no fights in the third period. The game might be broken. All right. There was no stopping Wayne Gretzky. I know I was there. I was there pretty pleased to see that Gretzky scored a hat trick. Kitty Kisio has a strong game with the Rangers. He had 3 goals and an assist. So pretty good for him as well. That was against the Leafs. Alright, so how many preseason? We have 3 preseason games left, and then we start the regular season on October 6th against the Red Wings at home. Alright, so now we are hosting my least favorite team in all professional sports, the Montreal Canadiens. Let's take a look at their lineup. We're going to see some good players. So Brian Hayward, who was the 5th most sold jersey last month in the NHL, at the surprise of absolutely everybody, including myself. Patrick Roy, so Brian Hayward and Patrick Roy, Rick Green, Craig Ludwig, Larry Robinson, Girky Lume, Mike Layler, Chris Chelios, Shane Corson, Bob Gainey, Mike McPhee, Matt Naslin, Guy Carbonneau, Brian Scrudlin, Brian Smith, oh god, who is that? Gilles Thibodeau, Ryan Walter, Tsushiyura, Keen Lemieux, Richer, Cordic, and Lantier up front. Alright, let's see if we can beat the Habs. Looks like we're going with some of our best players, but not all of them. Alright, the Canadians are going to go with Brian Hayward in net. Mark Fitzpatrick is going to be in net for us. Go Kings, go! We won 7-5. The scores were really high back in the 80s. Like 7-5 was probably a fairly common occurrence back then. Shots were tied at 37 apiece. Ron Duguay was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals. Gilles Thibodeau was the second star with a goal and 3 assists, and Gratton was the third star with an assist for us. 13,638 people in attendance for that one. So Ron Duguay scored the first goal of the game from Dan Gratton and Doug Crossman. Then Montreal tied the game, and then Ron Duguay scored again, made it 2-1, and then Montreal tied again. It was tied at 2 after 1. No fights in the first period. Then we scored twice to start the second period. John Miner scored from Phil Sykes, and then Bernie Nichols from Mike Krushelinski and Frank Bro. It was 4-2 for the Kings, and then Montreal scored 3 unanswered goals. So it was 5-4 for Montreal after 2. Oh, that's new. Or at least I have never seen it. We took a bench penalty in the second period. I was like, why does it say 0 minutes? Now, it probably should say 2 minutes there, probably. It says 0 minutes, so that might be something they want to fix. But there was a bench penalty, which is not something I have seen in the previous versions of the game. And we had a fight in the second period. Tom Laidloff fought John Cordick. Okay, yeah, Cordick fighting, I guess. Yeah, sure. And then in the third period, Wayne Gretzky scored from Dave Taylor, and John Tonnelly tied the game at 5. Then he scored again with the game-winning goal from John Miner and Dave Taylor. And then finally, Gord Walker scored in an empty net from Luc Robitaille and Bob Carpenter. 7-5 victory. Few more fights in the third period. Frank Bro fought John Cordick as well. And then Marty McSorley fought Claude Lemieux. And that was it. Pepe Lemieux. Alright. No one could stop Everett Sanipas, so I guess his back wasn't shot by then. He had a hat trick against the Islanders. I'm mentioning his back because that's what happened to Everett Sanipas in real life. Like, he was a guy that had some potential and everything, but he got hurt to his back pretty early in his career, and that was pretty much it for him. All right, 2 more preseason games. We're about to play against the Devils, so we're hosting the Devils here. We're going to take a look at their lineup. Can't say I'm super familiar with whom the Devils would have in 1988. So they have Sean Burke in net, 21 years old, and Bob Sauvé, Ken Daneyko, Bruce Driver, Tom Curvers, Craig Wallanen, Korn Velicic, Joe Serla, O'Callaghan on D, Paul Anderson, Aaron Broughton, Johnson, Molly, Rooney, Shanahan, Conacher, Loisel, Kirk Muller, Sundstrom, Brown, McLean, and Verbeek up front. We should be able to beat those guys. Come on. Let's beat the Devils. They're going to go with Sean Burke. We're going to go with Glenn Ely. And we won 4-1. Alright, so I don't put too much stock into preseason, but it's always nice to get a W on the board. We outshot the Devils 34-20 in that game. Wayne Gretzky, yet again, first star of the game, 2 goals and an assist. Marty McSorley was the second star with 2 assists, and Luc Robitaille was the third star with a goal and an assist. We only drew 13,302 people in attendance, although it is a preseason game, so I guess it is what it is. So the Devils opened up the scoring in the first. They were up 1-0 at that point. We had a few fights here. Dean Kennedy fought Craig Wallanen, and Marty McSorley fought David Molly. Then in period number 2, we tied the game. Frank Bro scored from Mike Krushelinski and Marty McSorley, and then Wayne Gretzky scored on a power play from Dave Taylor and Luc Robitaille. It was 2-1 for the Kings after 2. Then in the third period, Luc Robitaille scored on the power play from Wayne Gretzky and Bernie Nichols, made it 3-1, and then finally Wayne Gretzky in an empty net from Marty McSorley, 4-1 Kings. And one more fight in the third period. Dave Taylor fought Perry Anderson. I thought it was Paul Anderson. It's Perry Anderson. Not the same person. Oh, Mike Krushelski improves at center. Looks like he played center in that particular game. All right. Okay, great night for Mike Gartner with the Washington Capitals. He had a hat trick against the Flyers. Ooh, Gaetan Duchesne is out 6 months with an injury. That's not good for the Nordiques. A broken kneecap, that ought to hurt. So out 6 months. There was no stopping Dale Warchuk, who's now playing. Sorry, I got confused for a second. Dale Warchuk is in Winnipeg. He's not with Buffalo just yet. And he scored a hat trick against Vancouver. September scouting. We're not gonna worry about that too much. Although I agree that I need help on D. I do agree with that. Oh, our season ticket numbers are announced. 10,710 season tickets have been sold for the 6,005 capacity forum. Okay. So when I got 13,000 something, that wasn't that bad. My max capacity is 16,000. Okay, that's good to know. Right, so as far as season ticket numbers go, alright, so the worst team for that are the Devils? No, the Winnipeg Jets. Yep. And the Red Wings is the team that sold the most, almost 15,000. The Jets sold 8,202. Alright, that's also new. That's all tied to the new financial system that they have. So, alright, so we have one more preseason game to play, folks. And then after that, it's going to be time for decisions. We're going to cut our roster and decide who it is that we are keeping on the team. Oh, top-selling LA Kings jerseys for September. Gretzky, Nichols, Taylor, Robitaille, Rolly Melanson. Oh, okay. Sure. Top-selling NHL jerseys for September in the entire league. Charlie Simmer sold the most. Shell Daline, Mark Messier, Patrick Roy, Grant Fuhr, Amy McDonald, Wayne Gretzky, Ray Bork, Glenn Anderson, Brian Hayward. He's still there at number 10. It's pretty sad that he sold more jerseys than, Steve Yzerman. Alright, is New York looking to move Doug Wickenheiser? Probably. So the Rangers hold the rights to Doug Wickenheiser, and apparently Minnesota, Buffalo, and Philadelphia are interested into that first overall draft bust. Alright, we are playing in Toronto against the Maple Leafs. Let's take a look at whom the Leafs have back then. Alright, so Alan Bester and Ken Reggett and net. Todd Gill, and he's hurt, so he's not going to be playing this game. Brad Marsh, Borje Salming, Alaya Frate, Lance Veitch, Kostopoulos, Wendell Clark, Osborne Reed, Alan Seckard, Vincent Anfous, Fergus, Olchuk, Yaremchuk. Oh God, Inachak. Sorry if I screwed that one up. Courtnall, Lachlan, Gary Lehman, Dan Marois, and McKenna. Not the best team in the league, I wouldn't think. Alright, we're going to have Mark Fitzpatrick in net for the last game of preseason. We're going to be facing Ken Reggett. And we won 4-3. Sorry, math is hard, apparently. Cannot read numbers. 4-3 victory. We were outshot 45-33 in that one. Wayne Gretzky, first star yet again, 2 goals. Borje Salming was the second star with 2 assists, and Bernie Nichols was the third star with 2 goals as well. Alright, so Wayne Gretzky opened up the scoring from Luc Robitaille and Dave Taylor. Then the Leafs scored twice, so it was 2-1 Toronto after 1. And of course, some fights here in the first period. Wendell Clark fought Dale DeGray. Then Ali Afrati fought Steve Richmond. Then in the second period, the Leafs scored. It was 3-1 Toronto after 2. It looked pretty bad for us, but we came back and won. Wayne Gretzky scored from Paul Fenton and Dale DeGray, 3-2 Toronto. Then Bernie Nichols tied the game from Bob Kudelski and Mike Krushelinski. And then he scored the game-winning goal from Doug Crossman and Chris Kontos. Wow, another bench penalty and no fights in the third period. I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at that. So, wow, Tom Laidlaw had a 100 defensive game rating in that game, and he blocked 4 shots, which probably really contributed to that. Cool. Cool. Big game for Al McInnes. Yeah, the goal and 4 assists against Minnesota. Oh, that's not good for Hartford. They lost Ron Francis for 3 weeks, but still. Okay, alright. Regular season starts in 4 days. We're going to need to do our protection lists. And then the waiver draft is on the 5th. Paul Gay is ready for full contact, so he's about to come back. And I'm going to need to submit my protection list. Alright, so the way that I do that, I always ask the assistant and then I fix from there if I want to fix things. Alright, so do I want to keep Sykes? I don't really care. Yeah, I don't really care for any of those guys there. Alright, so Ely, Melanson, Crossman, Duchesne, Laidlaw, Waters, DeGray, Kennedy, McSorley. Yeah, I mean, there's not really any better. I mean, could always. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Well, it's very rare that I do that, but I actually agree with the assistant coach. Usually, I always, change a few things there, but I agree with that. We're gonna go ahead and keep with that. Alright, and now it's gonna be the waiver draft. Now, the waiver draft in real life doesn't exist anymore. I believe they got rid of it with the last lockout in 2005, 2006. I know that in comments somewhere, either during the stream here or on YouTube, somebody's gonna correct me if I'm wrong, which happens sometimes, and that's okay. I don't have too big of an ego. I can admit when I'm wrong, but I do believe that's when they got rid of the waiver draft. I am. That's the historical challenge. So the challenge is starting the year that they traded for Gretzky. We have 10 years to win the cup. So that should be interesting. All right, and welcome back, by the way. Jim Fox back soon. Paul Gay should be back soon as well. All right, the NHL season preview. I always read that, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that as eloquently as I can. So, with the National Hockey League season about to get underway, the early Stanley Cup favorites appear to be Calgary, led by center Doug Gilmour. General manager Cliff Fletcher has built a squad that will be the team to beat this year, but they can expect challenges from Glenn Sather's Edmonton Oilers and Montreal, featuring goalie Patrick Roy. Among the dark horses, Los Angeles stands out as a possible challenger with a big season by Wayne Gretzky capable of pushing them into contender status. The scoring race will likely see Los Angeles' Wayne Gretzky challenged by Mario Lemieux of Pittsburgh and Los Angeles' Bernie Nichols. The top defenseman in the league is generally considered to be Pittsburgh Penguins blue liner Paul Coffey, with Boston's Ray Bourque and Chris Chelios of Montreal also in the running. Alright, and for the goaltenders, Patrick Roy, Grant Fuhr, and Tom Barrasso are gonna fight for the Vizina. Oh wow, yeah, 2 years is pretty good. With Detroit, did you started with current day, or I mean, with this season, or did you start as a historical or something? And speaking of Detroit, that's the first team we're going to be facing here in the regular season. All right, let's go through the waiver draft. Maybe we're gonna find a diamond in the rough, or maybe just a diamond in shit. We'll see. Ooh, John Casey. Oh man, yeah. That's good to know. That is good to know. All right, so there's a few players that can play now. Are they gonna be good? That's another story. How many did he score? How many goals did Larkin score using the Gretzky's office role? All right, so let's. I'm gonna go ahead and pick until young. 68 goals, yeah, that's pretty strong, especially by today's standards. And 115 points, that's pretty good. Although, at this rate, this year, McDavid in real life is probably gonna get past that. Let's do. Oh, I get the second pick. All right, that works. That works. All right, so one thing that I mentioned at the start of the stream is to add to the challenge, because I think that just winning the Stanley Cup in 10 years with the Kings is not going to be all that hard. So I am going to, since the initials of my channel are A, R, and G, I'm going to limit myself to players with first or last initials starting with A, R, and G that I can pick up on waivers, trade for, draft, and all of that stuff. That's gonna make it a little bit more challenging. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at. So I could get Adams here. I could get Gordonine. I might get Gordonine actually. I could get Redmond. I think you can, if you play a regular historical. You can do it in a historical challenge because commissioner mode is disabled. But there was an issue in the past. I don't know if it's fixed for this year. In the past, there was an issue where you would be able to play 1 year, and then the game would try to move the team back to Colorado. So you would have to kind of like make the change every year, and it ends up being too much of a pain in the butt. It's not worth it. So I don't know if they kind of fix that for this year or not. I have not really looked into that. I think I'm gonna pick Gordonine. I do need help on D. He's a capable defenseman. He's a right D on top of that. It's either him or Greg Adams. I think I prefer Gordonine. I will pick Gordonine. His first name starts with G, so I can pick him. Cool deal. Alright, pick until human. There you go. That's done. So we lost Lyle Fair, we lost Mike Allison, we lost Phil Sykes. That's about it. Wow, a lot of teams didn't pick anybody. All right, we're gonna go ahead and continue. So I got me, Gordonine. Yeah, I'm not sure that it's gonna be. I'm not sure it's gonna be possible. You can make it so that you give yourself that tiny 4 year window to see if you can win the cup within those 4 years. You could always do that. Okay, all right. Time for decisions. It's time to cut into the roster now. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and take a look at goalies for. Oh, I like that. There's that now. Oh yeah, so that used to not be there. That drop down there used to not be there. I used to have to go into filter. I like it. So, all right. So I'm gonna go with I think Melanson and Ely. So I'm gonna send Fitzpatrick down. Then I'm going to look at my defenseman. All right, so what? I think I'm going to keep Gordonine. I just picked him up. I think I'm going to send the Gray down. Then I'm going to go ahead and go with that. Now we're going to start moving players down. Jim Ufford. And then Steve Richmond. All right, so yeah, the 7 defenseman I'm gonna keep. Yeah, my D is not very good, so my best defenseman is Doug Crossman. Then I have Steve Duchesne. That's not. Yeah, he is considered fully developed, but I would think that he can get better than 3 stars. That's what I would think. But and then we have Marty McSarty, Dean Kennedy, Tom Laidlaw, Waters, and Deneen. Yeah, that's my area of concern. That's why I picked up Gordonine over Greg Adams in the waivers draft. He's only a star and a half, but he I I need help on these, so that's my first area of concern for sure. I mean, you can always delay on offense when you have Wayne Gretzky, right? So, and then we're gonna go ahead and take a look at forwards. Even at forwards, I mean, I have some pretty good forwards, but it dwindles fast when you look at the stars rating there. Right, so I'm gonna go ahead and send down all of the half stars because we're not gonna play those guys. UB McDonough. Bro is not very good, as we saw in preseason. He's just good at face punching. All right, now. Yeah, so I send 2 more down. I think I'm going to send Walker down. And then I'm going to send Ken Baumgartner down. He's unfit. That's going to teach him for coming with a big fat belly to training camp. Alright, so that's 14, so that's 7, that's 2, that's 23, so I should have my 23 players. There we go. And we are, with that said, we are good to start the regular season. Yes, you can. Oh god, I lost a bunch of players. So I lost Dale the Grey off waivers. I lost Tim Tukey. I lost UB McDonough. That's all fine, I guess. Cool. Alright, so that's gonna be our team here to start. So to get back to what you were saying, so you can come to training here, and that's your training window. You can decide on who is going to train and what, and the more focus you put into one thing, the less focus is going to be into other things. So you can't put everybody at max training because it's going to kind of cancel everything. You know, it's going to cancel each other out, because it's like you're saying, well, you're going to spend a whole lot of time doing everything, which is not possible. So it's kind of a trade-off type of training regimen. And speaking of which, I usually leave that to the computer. Now I'm wondering if I did that or not. Let's go ahead and take a look. No, setting training, I set to assistant. That's cool. Perfect. But yeah, if you were to do it, you know, yourself, you come here and then you go into the training tab, and then you would like put check marks for like where you want to focus. Oh, you can do. Oh, you were asking in the AHL. I missed that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't think that in the AHL you can focus on that. That I think that's gonna have to do with your coach's ratings, and it kind of happens in the background. Sorry, I missed the AHL part. So what you're gonna want to do is to have a staff that I think that it affects it, but I'm not super sure. It's always been kind of nebulous how that works for the minor leagues, and especially in, sorry, I have something in my eye, especially in the minor leagues, in historical, there's not a whole lot of support on that. So they have added a little bit, so I'm gonna be kind of learning about that as I go this year. So we're gonna kind of figure it out together. Okay, so I guess I could get Alan Bester, I guess, but my goaltenders are better. Yeah, I don't care about those guys. All right, folks, we're ready to face the Red Wings. So let's take a look at the Red Wings in 1988, the team that they have here. I always look at injuries first. They have no injuries. They do have a player that's unfit. That would be Jim Nill. That's funny. He's a GM now, and you wouldn't accept that as a GM. But look at him coming to start the season unfit. All right, so Glenn Hanlon and Greg Stefan in net for Detroit. Steve Chiasson, Alward, Norwood, Sharples, Paul Cavallini, O'Donnell, Rick Zombo, Andy, Sean Burr, Gerard Gallant, Peter Klima, Bob Probert, Inachak, got that name again, Shabbat, Oates, Iserman. Iserman is 23, 5-star player. Bar Freiser, Paul McLean, Joe Murphy, Nil, and Joey Kosher, which is a pretty big fighter. All right, folks, let's get the season going. Playing against the Red Wings. All right, so it looks like we're going to go with Gretzky, with John Tonelli and Dave Taylor. Bernie Nichols will play with Luke Robitaille and Jim Fox. Bob Carpenter with Mike Krushelinski and Bob Kudelski. And Ron Duguay with Chris Contos and Dan Gratton. On D, we're going to have Crossman playing with Mick Sorley, Steve Duchesne with Dean Kennedy, and Waters with Gordon Dean, the guy that I just claimed off waivers. All right. Okay, so if you want to have, as somebody that plays a lot of historical, if you want for Konstantinov to have a shot at becoming an Hall of Famer, make sure when you create your historical game that you do not have recalc on. What recalc does is that it's going to adjust ratings according to real life, and we all know what happened to Konstantinov in real life, right? So that's going to be playing in the balance, and then Konstantinov is going to be almost unplayable, or he will be unplayable starting to when he had his accident. So make sure that you select that's if you choose to use recalc. So go ahead and make sure that you use the FHM engine for that. So it's gonna be a drop down, and it's gonna say like if you want to use 1 year recalc, 3 year recalc, or use the engine. So use the engine. With the engine, you're gonna have some surprises, and things like, you know, Konstantinov getting like wrecked in 97 is more than likely not going to happen. So that's what you want to do if you want to have a shot at Konstantinov of becoming a Hall of Famer. So make sure you do not use recalc. All right, first game of the season. The Red Wings are going to go with Glenn Hanlon in net. We're going to go with Glenn Healy. He's our starter. All right, no teams have played so far, so go Kings, go! I've never said that before in my life. And we start with a 6-5 victory against the Red Wings, and that was at home. So we start with a home stand there. I think it's 4 or 5 games. And then we're going to hit the road. So a 6-5 victory. We outshot the Red Wings 49-31. Dave Taylor was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 2 assists. Paul Cavallini of Detroit was the second star with 2 assists. And Wayne Gretzky was the third star with 2 goals. 16,005 people in attendance for the game, so that's really close to a sellout. Right, so the Red Wings scored first in the first period, then we scored 2 goals. Jim Fox scored from Marty McSorley and Luke Robitaille, and then Mike Krushelinski scored shorthanded from Dave Taylor and Doug Crossman. It was 2-1 for the Kings at that point, and then the Red Wings tied the game before the end of the period. There were a slew of penalties in the first period, including some fights, of course. Dean Kennedy fought Paul McLean. Tim Waters fought Gerard Gallant. Oh, I thought there were more. Lots of 2s as well. Alright, so with the score 2-2 in the second period, early in the second, Jim Fox scored his second goal of the game on the power play from Dan Gratton and Steve Duchesne. It was 3-2 for the Kings. Then the Red Wings tied the game, and then Gretzky scored shorthanded from Bob Carpenter and Steve Duchesne. It was 4-3 for the Kings. Then Detroit tied the game again. It was tied at 4. No fights in the second period. Then in the third period, the Red Wings took the first lead of the game, made it 5-4, and then we scored twice. Wayne Gretzky tied the game from Dave Taylor and John Tonelli. And then finally, Dave Taylor scored the game-winning goal with 2 minutes and 57 seconds left to go into the third period from Marty McSorley and John Tonelli. Oh, no, he was. I just don't have really good defense right now. But yeah, McSorley was McSorley came in the trade, the Wayne Gretzky trade, because he was Wayne Gretzky's protector and everything. But yeah, he was totally a goon. You are correct on that. He's playing first pair because I don't have a very good D right now. That's going to get fixed eventually. But the season is young, so yeah, he was a demon. He wasn't McSorty was a demon. He wasn't like a really good demon or anything like that. He was just like a really tough guy. Alright, so they are telling us that we lost a guy on waiver, which we already knew, right? Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and advance that. All right, memorable game for Doug Gilmore. He had 4 assists against the Islanders. Doug Gilmore, 25 years old, 5-star player, playing for the Flames. Alan Bester was picked off waivers by the St. Louis Blues. And Paul Gay is finally recovered from his injury. All right, so we have a day off, and then we are going to be hosting the Calgary Flames, who just won their first game as well. The Flames should have a pretty strong team in those years. They were pretty good. All right, so Craig Redmond. So the guys that I lost on waivers are being put right back on waivers. I don't really care for half-star players, so I'm not going to pick them back up. Jim Fox is almost recovered. And Greg Terrian might be on the block. So, playing for Toronto, St. Louis, Washington, and Boston are interested in his services. I am not. Alright, we are about to play the Flames at home, so that's going to be a back-to-back here. Not against the Flames, but we're playing 2 games in 2 days. We're going to be hosting the Islanders after that. So the Flames are 1-0 this season. They won their first game. We're going to take a look at how good they are. Oh, they have Joe Nieuwendyk that's hurt, so Nieuwendyk isn't gonna play. So pretty good player not in the lineup. That is good for. Yeah, they have some pretty good players there. So Mike Vernon in net, Rick Wamsley, Jamie McCown, Brad McCrimmon, Dana Merzen, Gary Suter, Brian Glynn, Al McInnes, Rob Ramage, Nick Natras on D. Then Patterson, Roberts, Ranheim, Berezon, Gilmore, Joel Otto, Piplinski, Herdina, Fleury, Mark Hunter, Akenlube, Lanny McDonald, and Joe Mullen up front. Yeah, he was a pretty spectacular player. Theo Fleury was. He was small and feisty, and I think a lot of kids could like relate to that, right? Because he wasn't a super tall, super big player, but he was feisty little thing. All right, let's see if we can contain the Flames with our D. It might be tough, but what can we do, right? So Rick Wamsley is going to be in net for the Flames. Oh, we're going to have Rolly Melanson in net for this game, going with the backup here. Yeah, we lost. We lost 6-3, so it was to be a little expected. The Flames are pretty good right now. We were outshot 48-40. Joe Mullen was the first star. He had a hat trick, 3 goals. Gary Roberts was the second star with 3 assists, and Rick Natras was the third star with 2 assists. 16,005 people in attendance for that game as well. So identical attendance for our first 2 home games of the season. So the Flames scored 3 unanswered goals in the first. Then we had Bob Carpenter score from Steve Duchesne and Mike Krushansky. It made it 3-1, but then the Flames scored again. It was 4-1 Calgary after 1. Some penalties in the first, no fights. And then in the second period, the Flames scored twice, made it 6-1. It didn't look too good for us. We did try to come back in the third period. Dave Taylor scored unassisted on the power play, and then Wayne Gretzky scored on the power play unassisted as well. Made it 6-3. But that was it. Oh, no fight in this game. That's good. In preseason, it was a little bit out of control. Alright, so we have Daryl Stanley and Paul Boutillier on waivers. Alright, Boutillier is a defenseman. He's not that much better than what I have already. Let's take a look here. Oh, yeah, no. A 9 at crease clearing defenseman. Not worth it. Not worth it. Alright, Joe Mullen has a memorable game. We were there, we saw that. Didn't like it much. He had a hat trick. Suspension for Bruce Bell playing for the Nordiques. He's going to miss 6 games. Anton Stastny scored his 600th point in his career with an assist in that same game against the New Jersey Devils. A great night for Tom Curvers in that same game. He had 4 assists. Mike Gartner in Washington had 3 goals and an assist against Buffalo. Jim Fox is recovered. Oh, and there's been a trade between the Jets and the Vancouver Canucks. Gilles Hamel and Rob Murray are going to Vancouver for Robert Nordmark and Daryl Stanley. Not a trade that's going to be remembered forever. Alright, so we are going to be hosting the Islanders now. So that's 2 games and 2 nights for us. The Islanders are 0-2 this season. They have not won a game yet. We're still playing at home. Alright, so Thomas Jansson and Mikko Makela are both hurt and not going to play this game. They are on the injured reserve. Alright, so in net they have Kelly Rudy and then Billy Smith. Yeah, Billy Smith is getting old, so he's pretty much the backup now. Steve Conroy, Leiter, Norton, Rich Pilon, Gerald Deduck, Ken Morrow on D. Then Greg Gilbert, Henry, Dave Volek, Randy Wood, Brad Lauer, Bob Basson, Raiko Elminen, Pat LaFontaine, 5-star, yep, that's right. Sutter, Brian Trottier, Pat Flatley, Kerr, Dalgarno, and Vukota up front. I think we have a good chance of beating that team. Alright, so Islanders at Kings were 1-1. The Islanders are 0-2. We should be able to win that. Kelly Rudy in net. We're going back to Ronan Melanson, really? This game struggles with goalie usage if you don't do it yourself. It's tough. All right. And we lost 6-0. That's not good. I thought we could win this game. We got wrecked. The Islanders outshot us 28-27. Kelly Rudy was the first star of the game with a shutout, 27 save performance. Rich Pilon was the second star with 2 assists, and Ken Morrow was the third star with 2 assists as well. Still 16,005 people in attendance. I'm just gonna go over the fights. We lost, so. Alright, so Marty McSorley in the first fought Ken Leiter, and then Bernie Nichols got in a fight with Gerald Deduck. Wow, Bernie Nichols getting angry there. And that was pretty much it. We lost 6-0 fair and square. We got our ass handed to us. Gary Galley has a memorable game. He's playing for Boston at this time of his career. He had 4 assists against the Hartford Whalers. Alan Seckard is suspended. He's going to miss 1 game. Right, we have a 2-day break, and then we're going to go ahead and play against the Boston Bruins at home still. Steve Yzerman has a memorable game. He had a hat trick against the Flames in a 5-5 tie, because in the 80s there were ties. They should never have gotten rid of that as far as I'm concerned. I don't like the shootout much, or at all, to be quite honest. Alright, Neil Sheehy was suspended with the Capitals. He's going to miss 3 games. Alright, so we are about to play Boston. Boston is 2-1. Oh, they have some injuries. So Gord Kluzak is injured, not gonna play. Michael Telvin is hurt, not gonna play, and Jay Miller is hurt, not gonna play either. So in net they have Andy Moog and Reggie Lemlin, Gary Galley, Greg Allgood, Glenn Wesley, Don Sweeney, Dubnar, Bork on D. That D was pretty potent back then. Then Brickley, Burridge, Joyce, Mark Wart, Carter, Janney, Casper, Ken Linsman, The Rat, Sweeney, Busick, Byers, Crowder, Neely, and Hines up front. And the Ray Bork's ratings are probably through the roof. He's a 20 as a quarterback. Oh, yes, 2 special abilities. Yeah, he's pretty strong. So he's resilient. Oh, so resilient means that he doesn't get hurt as long. And then a soft passer. Alright, so that's going to be a tough matchup. Bruins are pretty strong, so hopefully we send the right goalie in. We are. There we go. Maybe we're learning something here. So Andy Moog is going to be in net for Boston. We're going to go with Glenn Ely. Even with Glenn Ely in net, it's still going to be a pretty tough game. We battled in that one, but we lost 3-2, so we dropped that one by 1 goal. So a 3-2 loss here at home against the Bruins. We got robbed by Andy Moog here. We completely outshot Boston 48-21, so Andy Moog played on his head. Ken Linsman was the first star of the game. He had an assist. Dean Kennedy was the second star with an assist as well. And Andy Moog deserves the third star with a 46 save performance there. Still 16,005 people in attendance for the game. Boston opened up the scoring in the first, and then we had Paul Fenton tie the game from Doug Crossman and Dean Kennedy, tied at 1 here after 1. There was a fight between Dean Kennedy and Nevin Marquardt. Then in period number 2, the Bruins took the lead again, and then we tied again. Mike Krushelinski from Ron Duguay and Paul Gay. That was a 2-2 game. And then Gary Galley scored the game winner on the power play in the third period, and that was a tough loss here. We lost by 1 at home here. And there was a fight near the end of the game between Dave Taylor and Cam Neely. Alright, so Gretzky is not dominating so far. What's going on? Is he sad because he's not in Edmonton anymore? Brian Leach has a great game. He had 4 assists against the Waiters. Memorable game from Mike Bullard with St. Louis. He had 4 assists against Toronto. And Alan Seckert is already back from suspension. Right, so we have 2 days off before we play against the Flyers. That's going to be our last home game here before we hit the road for 2 games. All right, so Steve Smith is suspended in Edmonton. He's going to miss 4 games. Gilles Thibodeau is going to miss 5 games with Montreal, suspended as well. Passes on point for Scott Stevens. Now Scott Stevens is with Washington here. Hasn't been signed by New Jersey yet. So a goal and 4 assists for him against Toronto. Jan Ludwig hurt while helping a friend move, so he's gonna miss a couple weeks playing for Buffalo. And Winnipeg is listening for offers on Mike Allison, which they claim off waivers from us. So I guess that so in their stream they said that they have added something where if you claim a player on the waivers, he's put on a temporary no movement clause until the end of that year. I guess that's not happening in historical, because Mike Allison started on my team. He was selected off waivers, and now he's being shopped around. And Boston, Calgary, and Washington want him. Not me. Okay, so the Flyers are in town. They have a perfect 3-0 record. We're 1-3 to start. Obviously, I'm not expecting to win the Stanley Cup on my first year of the challenge. My D is too bad. But I was expecting for Gretzky to be a little bit better than that. I feel like I'm being fleeced. Alright, so the Flyers have Ron Extall in net with Darren Pupa as the backup, Terry Cartner. His line mates are John Tonnelly and Dave Taylor. Probably should play with Robitaille, I would think. On D, Terry Cartner, Denio, Mark Howe, Jay Wells, Kerry Hoffman, Gordon Murphy, and Shel Samuelson. Up front, they have Murray Craven, Brian Propp, Sinisalo, Smith, Pellier Clune, Dave Poulin, Sutter Zezel, Fitzpatrick, Jensen, Kerr, Mellenby, Tuckett, and Suleiman. 3.5 star player at 24. I mean, 3.5 star player is pretty close to star player status. So I think that's a fair rating. I don't think it's really poor. 15 as a power forward, that's pretty decent. 16 as a grinder is higher, and then of course goon and enforcer is higher. I wouldn't play him as a goon or enforcer, though I probably would play him either as a power forward. Yeah, I probably would play Rick Tuckett as a power forward if he was on my team, but he's not, so who am I to say what he should be doing? Alright, let's see if we can turn things around here. We need a W here. Oh, Luc Robitaille plays with Gretzky and Dave Taylor. That's about as good as it's going to get as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, we might be needing some help on right wing as well. I like my left wings. That I don't have a problem with. And I'm fine with my centers as well. So the D and maybe a good right winger wouldn't hurt me too much. Just saying. All right, Darren Pupa in net for the Flyers. We're going back to Rolly Melanson here. So looks like we're kind of sharing the net between the two. We're not like having a clear-cut starter. Yeah, well, he has Robitaille. Robitaille can score, of course, but yeah, I need better right wingers. So that's something that I'm gonna look at. Usually, the way that I do things is that I usually play an entire month with what I have, unless there's an emergency. And then after the month, I'm gonna be looking at who's on the trading block, waivers, things like that, and see if I can do something. Maybe look at a trade. But usually I'm gonna do things month by month. Otherwise, I mean, you can get lost in there and then 5 hours have passed and you're still looking at a player to trade for. So I try to limit it after each month or something like that. All right. Oh yeah. All right, so we did rebound. That's a 8-1 victory on home ice against the Flyers. Gretzky better have some points here. All right, so we outshot the Flyers 39-25. Paul Gay was the first star of the game. He had 3 assists. Gordonine, whom I picked up on waivers, was the second star with a goal and an assist. And Mike Krushelinski, FJ's favorite, 2 assists and the third star. 16,005 people still in the attendance for that one. Bob Carpenter opened up the scoring in the first. Oh, you stream Football Manager? I tried like 9 years ago, I think, to get into Football Manager because I love sports sim, but I know nothing about soccer/football. I know nothing, so like the terms weren't making sense to me, and I was struggling to understand what I needed to do. And honestly, that's kind of part of why I decided last year to do, or well, it was earlier this year to do the tutorial videos for Franchise Hockey Manager, because there's people that are coming from Football Manager that don't really know much about hockey, so I wanted to kind of help those people a little bit. So anyway, so Bob Carpenter opened up the scoring in the first from Gordonine and Mike Krushansky. Then the Flyers tied the game, but then we scored three unanswered goals after that. Chris Contos from Paul Gay and John Tonnelly, Gordonine from Paul Gay and Mike Krushansky, and then Wayne Gretzky from Dave Taylor and Steve Duchesne. 4-1 Kings after one. Bunch of fights in the first period too. So Dean Kennedy fought Rick Tocchet, then Marty McSorley fought Shel Samuelson. Marty McSorley fought again, that time against Rick Tocchet, who fought again. And then Dave Taylor against Terry Karkner, and then Gord Deneen against Scott Mellenby. So a bunch of fights in the first. Then in the second period, Bob Carpenter scored unassisted. That was 5-1 Kings. And then Steve Duchesne scored his first of the season on the power play from Luc Robitaille and Dave Taylor. 6-1 Kings after two. Then in that period, we had some fights again. Marty McSorley again. He's on fire. Fought Rick Tocchet again. Dear God. Don't they understand that Rick Tocchet is more useful to the Flyers on the ice than in the penalty box? Maybe he should stop fighting so much. Alright, then in the third period, Wayne Gretzky scored his fifth of the season from Paul Gay and Luc Robitaille, and then finally Chris Contos from Paul Fenton and Dan Gratton. It was 8-1 for the Kings. Of course, that's how it ended. And then Tim Waters fought Rick Tocchet in the third period. That's the fourth Rick Tocchet fight in that game. I think he went out. I mean, it's in LA, right? I think he went out and had too much fun on his night out and had some issues with his control there. Alright, so Dale Dunbar is on waivers. I'm not gonna pick him up. I need help on D, but he's not good enough. Steve Larmer with Chicago is hurt, and he's going to miss to 6 weeks. Got hurt against the Waiters. What injury does he have? A fractured elbow. Cam Neely extends his goal streak to 5 games with 2 goals and an assist against Minnesota. Mike Ridley extends his goal streak to 5 games as well with a goal against New Jersey. I think, oh god, now I'm talking through my butt. I would have to look it up. I think that the rule about the amount of fights that give you an automatic game suspension, I think it's after 2 now. That came in later. I don't think there was a limit in the 80s. Nowadays, I believe if you get into 2 fights into the same game, you get an automatic game suspension or a game misconduct, or it might be after the second. Alright, we're hitting the road, and we're going to go ahead and try and avenge our loss against the Flames. Here we're going to be in Alberta to play Calgary and then the Edmonton Oilers. Alright, we have some news to go through first. So Mark Reeds is on waivers. And then Todd Charlesworth is also on waivers. So Mark Reeds became an assistant coach with the Ottawa Senators, and he passed away from cancer like a number of years ago. I'm talking about real life, obviously. There was no stopping Peter Stastny, who had 3 goals and 2 assists against the Buffalo Sabres. Peter Stastny was a really good player, and of course, as a Nordiques fan as a kid, I loved watching him. Cam Neely extends his goal streak to 6 games with a goal against the Chicago Blackhawks. Yes, it is. Yes, Peter Stastny is Paul Stastny's dad. Yeah, I said that right. Greg Adams lights the lamp. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Rangers. A night to remember for John Ogrodnik. He had a hat trick in that same game. And a good night for Jimmy Carson playing for the Edmonton Oilers. He had a hat trick against the Jets. Alright, so playing here in Calgary. So since we played them already, I am not going to look at their lineup. We already saw what they have. Right, hopefully Gretzky can continue to do good. Glenn Ely is back in net for the Kings. He's going to be facing Mike Vernon. We lost 6-3 the first game of the season against the Flames. Oh God, that's Doug Gilmour with some real handlebar action going on with his mustache there on his little game card. Hey, it's a tie. You know what? The Flames are good. We're playing on the road. I will take the point and be happy with that. So it's a 3-3 tie. We could not win, but we actually did not lose either. We outshot the Flames very slightly, 40-38. Gary Suter was the first star of the game. He had a goal and an assist. Bernie Nichols was the second star with 2 assists, and Gary Roberts was the third star with a goal. So the Flames opened up the scoring in the first. It was 1-0 for them. Then not a whole lot of penalties in the first period. Then Gordonine, what a pickup for me. Tied the game in the second period from Bernie Nichols and Steve Duchesne. It was tied at 1 after 2. Then some penalties here in inning. Wrong sport in period number 2. Joel Otto fought Marty McSorley. And then Gary Roberts fought Gordonine. And then Doug Crossman got a bench penalty as well. Those are new. And then the Flames scored twice in the third period. They were up 3-1, but then Marty McSorley, of all people, scored from Mike Krushelinski and Gordonine. And then Dean Kennedy tied the game from Jim Fox and Bernie Nichols. It was tied at 3. We had a fight in the third as well. Gary Suter fought Marty McSorley. And then nothing happened in the overtime, so we have a tie, 3-3 tie. Oh, that's gonna suck. So in that game we just played against the Flames, Joe Mullen got hurt, and he's out for 6 months. Wow, see you next year, Joe Mullen. A torn UCL ligament, or, well, L stands for ligament, but yeah, torn UCL. Out for 6 months. Brian Bellows extends his goal streak to 5 games. He had a goal and an assist against Edmonton. Jimmy Carson extends his goal streak to 5 games for Edmonton. He had a goal in that same game against Minnesota. And a strong night for Esa Tikkanen. So in that game, he had a hat trick. Alright, we have the day off, and then tomorrow we play in Edmonton against the Oilers. Oh, Denis Savard is suspended in Chicago. He's going to miss 5 games. Well, what did he do? And the red light stays on for Rob Brown. He had 3 goals and an assist against the Flyers. Of course, Rob Brown probably playing alongside Mario Lemieux. All right, we are in Edmonton to play the Oilers. Oilers are 5-1, so they also have a decent team. They still have Mark Messier over there, among other players. Yeah, I see a few 4- and 5-star players in there. All right, so Grant Fuhr and Bill Ranford in net, so that's a pretty good combo. I'd be happy with either as my starter. Actually, I could get either. Maybe I'm going to make a trade with Edmonton. I'm going to send them Wayne Gretzky. Wait, no. All right. Randy Gregg, Charlie Addy, Kevin Lowe, Steve Smith, Craig Muni, Ken Hammond. Is it Jason Weimer? Jim Weimer. I always mix up Jim and Jason Weimer for some reason. Jeff Bucheboom and Larson on D. Then up front they have Craig Simpson, Esa Tikkanen, Keith Acton, Jimmy Carson, Craig McTavish, Mark Messier, Dave Smith, Doug Smith, Mike Lamb, Glenn Anderson, Yari Curry, Lacombe, and McClellan. It's gonna be a pretty good test here. They're pretty good. Rolly Melanson in net for us. Bill Ranford in net for the Oilers. Go Kings, go! Come on. If we win, we play for 500. We lost 6-3 on the road against the Oilers. Yeah, Wayne Gretzky is struggling to dominate games and make me win games all by himself. I was hoping for a little bit more. The season is still young. Alright, so shots were tied at 34 apiece. Yari Kuri was the first star of the game. He had 2 goals and an assist. Kevin Lowe was the second star with 2 assists. And Esa Tikkanen was the third star with 2 assists. Oilers opened up the scoring in the first, and Wayne Gretzky tied the game from Luke Robitaille and Doug Crossman. And then the Oilers scored again. It was 2-1 Edmonton here after 1. There were a couple fights in the first, 3 fights in the first period. Mark Messier fought Marty McSorley, Jeff Buchebum fought Marty McSorley, and Kevin McClellan fought somebody other than Marty McSorley. He fought Gordonine. Yeah, that's going to happen. I usually make a fairly decent amount of changes to my teams. Like I do it gradually. I won't be like trading, you know, 12 players before the next month or something like that. I usually do it gradually. I'm going to change maybe one thing, and then the next month maybe nothing, and then the next month after that 2 things. But yeah, I usually do it gradually. But yeah, we're going to give Wayne some good wingers to play with. I have a few IDs already. I have a few IDs. Yes. Doesn't always look like that, but there's some action going up in that head of mine sometimes. Alright, in the second period, the Oilers scored, made it 3-1, and then Wayne Gretzky scored again on the power play from Luke Robitaille and Bernie Nichols. It was 3-2, but then Edmonton scored again, made it 4-2. Then in the third period, the Oilers scored 2 more times, made it 6-2, and then John Tonelli scored from Marty McSorley and Jim Fox. It was a 6-3 loss. Not off to the best of starts, but I am not panicking right now. I am not a Abs fan, so I don't panic after just a couple losses. Jimmy Carson extends his goal streak to 6 games. He had 2 goals against us. Brian Bellows extends his goal streak to 6 games as well. He had a goal against the Flames. Suspension over for Sheehy. He is back in the lineup in Washington. And Cam Neely extends his goal streak to 7 games with a goal against the Jets. Cam Neely, if it wasn't for his knees, if it wasn't for Ulf Samuelsson taking his knees out, who knows how many goals he would have had in his career. He was a pretty good player. All right, so we have a few days off. We have 2 days off before we go back home to play against the Minnesota North Stars. All right, no news here. Another sim. Couple of things. Oh, Chris Kostopoulos is available. I'm not going to pick him up. Randy Kennywart got suspended in Pittsburgh. He's going to miss 5 games. And Ray Neufeld with Hartford is kind of on the block there. And Winnipeg, apparently nobody reached out to me, so I don't know how they are saying that I am interested, and then Boston are interested in Bree Neufeld. All right, playing the North Stars, they are 3-4 this season, so they also have a losing record. So maybe we are within reach of being able to beat them. All right, so they have Kurt Giles, Art, and Mo Manta, so they are not going to be playing this game. Now, we already looked at those guys during preseason, so I'm not going to spend too much more time looking here. They have a few good players, of course. Yes, Zeno Cicerelli was a great player. Of course, he played for the Red Wings a little bit later in his career as well. But you would know that. Yeah, Zeno Cicerelli, for me, was... Oh, I'm not wasn't looking at the right guy. I was like, man, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, Cicerelli was one of the very first pure goal scorers that I have seen. Personally, for me. Or maybe it's just that, his name is so unusual that, I remember it more because of that. But that's one guy that I remember like that. All right. Let's see if we can beat the North Stars. So they're going to send Don Beaupre in net. We're going to go with Glenn Ely. And in preseason, we beat them 9-4. So let's see if we can kind of replicate that. That would be pretty cool. We lost 5-4. We are 2-5-1. That's not good enough. That's not how you tackle a challenge down. The GM's gonna have some work to do. That would be me. Alright, so we outshot Minnesota 43-41. Bob Rouse was the first star of the game. He had 2 assists. Wayne Gretzky was the second star with 3 assists. And Dave Gagne was the third star with 2 goals. 16,005 people in attendance for the game. North Stars scored 4 goals in the first period. It didn't look too good at that point. Then we had some fights in the first period. Tom Laidlaw fought Mark Hardy. Then Dean Kennedy fought Dave Gagne. Then in the second period, Luke Robitaille scored from Dave Taylor and Wayne Gretzky. Then Robitaille again from Dave Taylor and Wayne Gretzky again. And those 2 goals were 27 seconds apart. Wait, no. God, how can I? 27. Yeah, 27. Something like that. God, I'm not good at math. Which sucks, but it is what it is. And then Minnesota scored, made it 5-2. Then Bernie Nichols scored his first, made it 5-3. So we were down 2 heading into the third period, where Bernie Nichols scored again on the power play from Wayne Gretzky and Steve Duchesne. It was 5-4 with a little bit less than 7 minutes to go in the third period. But we couldn't tie the game, and we lost by 1 yet again. We lost 5-4 against a team that we had a chance to beat. Oh, Chris Contos is hurt. Okay, we're going to need to look at that. Thankfully, he plays on our 4th line, so that shouldn't be the end of the world, maybe. 1 to 2 weeks. Yeah, we can deal with that. All right, Brian Bellows extends his goal streak to 7 games. He had a goal against us. Dino Cicerelli extends his assist streak to 8 with a goal and an assist against us as well. Memorable night for Kerry Wilson playing for the Waiters. He had a hat trick against the Flyers. Stéphane Richer extends his goal streak to 5 games, 2 goals against Buffalo. Gilles Thibodeau is back from suspension with Montreal after that game, and Bruce Bell is back from suspension with the Nordiques. All right, let's put Chris Contos on the injured list, and we're going to go ahead and recall somebody. It is slim pickings, folks. Not a whole lot of raw talent down there. Actually, and we have a lot more D-man than forwards available to us. So let's see. Do I go with Gord Walker? He's the one that's doing the best down here as a forward. I'm going to recall Gord Walker. He might not play anyway, but yeah, there you go. I do not believe that college teams are in the game yet. I'm playing historical right now. I know for sure they're not in historical. I would have to check if the college teams are there. If somebody that's on the stream knows, please let Pale Skinny know. They could be there, but I am not 100% sure. I did not check. I'm sorry. All right, so we have 2 days off, and we are going to be. All right, thank you. That's in line to what I was thinking because they're trying to get rid of like where there's no leagues to play and everybody's a free agent and everything. So yeah, sorry, not yet. All right, couple days off. Rick Zumbo in Detroit got suspended. He's going to miss 3 games. Passes on point for Steve Eiserman in that same game. He had a goal and 4 assists against the Devils. Jean Perron is angry at the lack of coverage. Oh, yeah, the Nordiques are not doing too good there. Jimmy Carson extends his goal streak to 7 games, a goal and an assist against the Vancouver Canucks. And suspension over for a welcome aboard, Pale Skinny. All right, well, enjoy the game. Feel free to stop by whenever you want. Talk hockey. Let me know how you're doing in your save. I always like to listen to other people's saves, how they're doing. All right. One more day to sim, and then we're hosting the Oilers. Oh, Paul Coffey signed an extension with Pittsburgh. He's going to be with them for 6 more years. Paul Coffey, one of my favorite defensemen as a kid. Dressing room shenanigans make us St. Louis players. Right, Todd Charlesworth and Jim VC were pulling pranks and everything. So that's a news that's been in previous iterations of the game. I'm not gonna read it right now. I've read that one so many times in the past. All right. So that's our last home game for a while. The next, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next 6 games are going to be on the road. Now, one thing to know is that in 1988, they would play some games at neutral sites. I believe that it was still in effect back then. So, like, I'm looking at those 2 away games at Winnipeg. So, one of those 2 games was probably in Winnipeg, and the other one was probably at a neutral site somewhere. Yeah, with the Sens, it's probably going to be tougher money wise, but you're going to start with a lot of pretty interesting prospects. So you're going to have to kind of pick and choose who you want to keep, I guess. All right, Edmonton is in town. They are 6-2 now. We are 0-1 against them. Of course, they beat us 6-3 earlier this season. We're not off to a great start, so winning a game here before we hit the road would make everybody feel better. They are going to go with Bill Ranford. We're going to go with Glenn Ely. And we lost 2-1. Another tough 1-goal loss. So it looks like we're in a lot of games, but we just cannot put the games away. We got robbed by a goaltender again. We outshot them 33-20. Jeff Bukeboom was the first star of the game. He had a goal. Gord Walker was the second star with a goal, and Mark Messier was the third star with an assist. So Oilers open up the scoring in the first. And there were some fights. Tim Waters fought Jeff Bukeboom. Marty McSorley fought Mark Messier. I don't know, that's a good trade-off. Then Oilers scored again in the second period, made it 2-0. Then in the third period, Gord Walker scored with a little bit more than 4 minutes left to go, assisted by Paul Fenton, but we never could tie the game. And again, we needed a goal, and Wayne Gretzky was nowhere to be found. We're going to need to get him some help, apparently. So there was a fight also in the third period between Mike Krushelinski and Mark Messier. So 5-minute majors for fighting. We're going to go ahead and advance that. Stefan Richer extends his goal streak to 6 games. Yeah, he had a goal against Boston. Right, and in 2 days we're going to be playing in Winnipeg against the Jets. Ray Shepard of the Buffalo Sabres is hurt against the Waiters, and he's going to miss 3 months. Wow. With a broken thigh. And then Pierre Turgeon got suspended in that same game. He's going to miss 7 games. Stéphane Richer extends his goal streak to 7 games with a goal against Detroit. Bobby Smith extends his assist streak to 8 games with 2 goals and 2 assists in that same game. And Dino Ciccarelli, assist streak of 9 games. He had a goal and 2 assists against the Leafs. Well, then you're going to be perfect to play as the Ottawa Senators because that's what they've been doing for years, right? Once they reach their late 20s, they want too much money and we trade them because we cannot pay them and then we start all over again. So it's the team for you, man. That's the team you need. The Ottawa Senators, where you're going to perpetually continue to create what they have been doing in real life as well. All right. Oh yeah, most of our prospects are signed. I think Jake Sanderson is probably not signed. He's probably the best one you're gonna need to sign. He's a defenseman. He should be rated high. If he's not rated high, then Jeff and Adam have not been doing a great job at evaluating prospects because he's gonna be really good. Norman Rochefort has been put on waivers. I'm not gonna pick him up. Brian Trottier has reached 1,000 games in his career. He didn't get a point. Brian Trottier is 32 and a 3.5 star player. So, memorable game for Doug Bodger with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He had 4 assists against the Blues. He's only a 3-star potential. Yeah, that seems low. He's going to be really good. At least that's my opinion. I've been known to be wrong once. I think it was in 1988 or something like that. But of course, I'm joking. But yeah, I could be wrong. But I'm pretty high on Sanderson. I think he's going to get really good. Good night for Rob Brown. He had 3 goals and 2 assists against the Blues. Memorable night for Paul Coffey. He had a goal and 4 assists. So a lot of Pittsburgh players had great games. It's going to happen when it's a 9-2 trouncing of the other team. All right, we're playing in Winnipeg against the Jets. The Jets are 3-3-1, so slightly better than us. Let's take a look. They have no injuries. Oh, they don't have great goaltending. They have Pokey Reddick and Alain Chevrier. Randy Carlisle, Dave Ellett, Peter Taglianetti, Mario Marois, Teppo Numminen, Frederica Lawson, Nordmark, Ashton, Duncan, Doug Smale, Allison Boschman, Dale Orchuk, Thomas Steen, Wilson, Pivanka, Gillen, Elenuk, Kumpel, McBain, and Yarvin Pa. Alright. See if we can beat the Jets. They don't have great goaltending, so hopefully we can exploit that. We're going to go back to Glen Erie. We're going to be facing Pokey Reddick. Aye. We lost 5-2. Not a good game again. Hey, FJ. You're missing out on all the fun. So, FJ, I've been taking I'm taking your challenge on. I've modified it just slightly, but I'm taking on the challenge you offered me. So I'm playing the LA Kings challenge. I have 10 years to win the cup, and I am gonna do what you suggested, but I'm putting it for first names as well. I was just afraid that for some positions I wouldn't have enough players that I could choose from. So any player whose first or last initial start with A, R, and G, I'm going to be able to go for. Now I'm still in my first season, so I'm gonna need to weed some of the players out still. That would have been too big of a job, but yeah. I already put it into effect in the waivers draft. I put up Gordonine. His first name starts with G, so I could pick him up. So yeah, not only do I have only 10 years to win the cup, but I'm also limited into the players that I can bring on board. All right, so all that to say that we lost 5-2 against the Jets. We didn't get the goaltending in that one. Shots were tied at 29 apiece. Pat Ellenok was the first star of the game. He had a goal and 2 assists. Doug Smale was the second star with 2 assists. And Dave Ellett was the third star with a goal and an assist. Alright, so the Jets scored first in the first period. Then Bernie Nichols tied the game on the power play from Luc Robitaille and Wayne Gretzky. It was tied at 1 after 1. There was a fight in the first period. Randy Carlyle fought Dean Kennedy. Then nobody scored in the second period, and in the third period, the Jets scored, made it 2-1. Then Wayne Gretzky tied the game from Luc Robitaille and Dave Taylor, and then the Jets scored 3 unanswered goals until the end of the game, and we lost 5-2. Nope, I won't be trading for Alexander Daigle. Plus, it's fitting. I have the King, so I get to keep Gretzky. That's pretty cool, And I can keep Luc Robitaille as well. Alright, there's one game left here in October, and after that game, I think I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna need to go make dinner. I have a family that waits for me to feed them. Andrew McBain got suspended for 7 games in that game against us. Dino Ciccarelli extends his assist streak to 10 games with an assist against the Detroit Red Wings. In that same game, Gerard Gallant extended his assist streak to 8 with an assist. And there's trade rumors around Bill Gardner, who is an Alpha Star player. Toronto, Philadelphia, and Minnesota are really wanting this guy, apparently. Alright, so we are going to sim one more day, and then there's one game left in October. I'm starting to struggle with my voice a little bit too. Well, my throat mostly. Strong night for Uwe Krupp playing in Buffalo. He had a hat trick against Boston. Ooh, Mark Messier is hurt in Edmonton. He's going to miss 3 weeks. Got hurt against Washington. Red light stays on for Kevin Dineen with Hartford. 3 goals and an assist against the Devils. Dino Ciccarelli's assist streak ended at 10 games. Oh, he was held scoreless against Detroit. Gerard Gallant's assist streak also ended. That was an 8-game streak for him. Yeah, me too. That's going to be a little scary. Rick Zombo's suspension ends. So back in the lineup. Stéphane Richer extends his goal streak to 8 games with a goal against Pittsburgh. Yeah, the drafts are going to be really interesting because there's some better players I'm going to need to pass on. So I'm going to need to be creative. But I figured that winning the cup with LA in 10 years wouldn't have been too hard in itself. So I thought that it would be good to add an extra challenge to it. I don't know yet. I've targeted players for trades. I haven't really thought about the draft yet, but I've targeted some players for trades. And Bobby Smith extends his assist streak to 9, so 1 assist against Pittsburgh. All right, let's play that last game here. We are 2-7-1. We're not doing very good, folks. Wayne Gretzky is not doing his magic enough for my own taste. Playing in Winnipeg again, although it might be a neutral site game. We're going to go to Rolly Melanson for that game, and we're going to be facing Alain Chevrier. We won that one 6-0. Look at that. A shutout for Rolly Melanson. We outshot Winnipeg 50-27. Rolly Melanson was the first star of the game, 27 saves and the shutout. Wayne Gretzky was the second star. Small game for him, 5 goals. Luc Robitaille was the third star with 5 assists. All right. So Wayne Gretzky opened up the scoring in the first period from Luc Robitaille and Dave Taylor. Then Wayne Gretzky scored again on the power play. That was his 10th of the season from Luc Robitaille and Bernie Nichols. 2-0 Kings after 1. There was a fight between Dale Hawerchuk and Dean Kennedy. Then in the second period, Wayne Gretzky scored on the power play from Marty McSorley and Dave Taylor. Then Dave Taylor scored from Luc Robitaille and Doug Crossman. 4-0 Kings after 2. Yeah, that might be a good one to pick for sure. And then, yeah, Adam Foote would fit. And I need help on D. That's my biggest weakness right now. All right, Wayne Gretzky scored in the third period on the power play from Luc Robitaille and Steve Duchesne, and then Gretzky again from Robitaille and Dave Taylor. So the Kings won 6-0. We finally had a really dominant performance by Gretzky, a 5-goal game. That's pretty strong. And Teppo Numminen fought Dave Taylor about midway through the third period. Alright, so Rick Lanz, is available. I might look into him. Oof. So he has a 2-star talent, right? So I was like, that might be interesting, but his IS rating is an 8, so I'm not gonna pick him up. All right, Wayne Gretzky lights the lamp. Yeah, 5 goals. That was pretty cool. Open ice leads to a productive night for Luc Robitaille. 5 assists. That was also pretty cool. Good game for Andy Brickley of the Bruins. He had a hat-trick, 3 goals against Buffalo. Denis Savard is back from suspension with the Blackhawks. John Ogrodnik reaches 300 goals in his career. He had a goal against Pittsburgh. The Randy Cunningham suspension ends. So back in the lineup in Pittsburgh, and that's the scouting report. I won't worry about that. All right, we're gonna make it November 1st before I stop here. And is it November? Yes, it is. All right. Gary Roberts extends his point streak to 12 games. He had a goal against the Blackhawks. The top-selling jerseys for the Kings in October: Wayne Gretzky, Bernie Nichols, Luc Robitaille, Dave Taylor, and Rolly Melanson. And the top-selling NHL jerseys for October. Steve Yzerman finally sold more jerseys than Brian Hayward. Look at that. Wayne Gretzky is 10th on the list. The jersey that sold the most in the NHL in October was Paul Coffey. And the players of the month were Steve Yzerman and Clint Malarchuk. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at our stats first. Alright, so Wayne Gretzky has 17 points in 11 games, 13 goals. Not much of a passer so far this season. Luc Robitaille has 14 points in 11 games. Then Dave Taylor has 13 in 11. And then it just goes down. Our best offensive defenseman is Steve Duchesne, of course, with 8 points. And if we look into the league, Rob Brown is the best goal scorer so far this season. He has 14, so one more than Wayne Gretzky. Ken Lindsman is the best passer, the Rat, with 16 assists. The best scorer is Rob Brown with 22 points. And And goalie leaders, we won't have anybody in there, I can tell you that, except maybe in shoutouts, I guess. Ronnie Mananson had one. So we might see his name there, yeah. We see it right there. Alright. And then they have added that here, which is new, I believe. So you can see like who got in the most fights. So Dave Richter got into the most fights. Marty McSorley had 7. Rick Tockett had 7. You can look at the giveaways, the takeaways. Oh wow, Steve Duchesne is first in takeaways with 14. So you can look at all that kind of stuff now that used to not be there. All right, I've been talking for a long time. I know that some people are able to pull like 10-hour stream sessions and everything. I guess I'm not one of those. Plus, I have to go make dinner, so. But I do appreciate everybody stopping by. Feel free to stop by whenever I do that next. I never know ahead of time. I do things a little bit randomly when it comes to my gaming, but yeah, if you're following me, you'll get the notification, and you're all always welcome to stop by and talk hockey, talk franchise hockey manager, or talk about whatever it is you're playing. I usually don't mind. FJ can attest to that. During my Brigandine streams, he likes to talk about his out of the park baseball seasons, and I really don't mind. So, all right. I'm gonna go ahead and stop here. So again, thank you for tuning in, and until I roll this game again, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.